Kitsuné erschienen. Herzlich willkommen to Nouveau Film Club. Je vous demande d'accueillir à la batterie Ben Thompson. À la guitare électrique et au bébis, Sam Holiday. À la basse et au bébis, Kevin Baer. À la guitare électrique et au chant, Alex Trimble. Je vous demande d'accueillir les tout dans Cinéma Club.
Merci beaucoup.
It's just really
never
hard,
going to be
obviously,
100% perfect.
to just walk in like that and just
As far as it's like the first few plucks, I was like so timid and I missed a couple.
not
There's nothing on the chin.
Not fat calves.
Come on! Come on!
People are coming up with more inventive questions when we do interviews, and people want to find out different stuff about us, but for the first few months it did get quite hard. It got a bit tedious when people are constantly asking, like, you know, how did you meet, and how did you come up with your band name, and how do you write songs? Like, it was those questions in every single interview, and sometimes you'd be doing interviews in a place for maybe like 12 hours straight in like one day, getting asked that question all the time, and you just get fed up with it.
Two-Door Cinema Club, where does his name come from? Alex and Kevin, we heard that you met when you were scout, is that true?
Yeah.
Wouldn't say so much.
Yeah, Kev bullied me.
He was a grand garçon, and he.
De toute façon, il y a deux choses pour déclencher les scouts. Soit appelé les couilles.
Pigeon in French.
Vas-y, traduis.
Any pedophilia in the scout?
Est-ce qu'ils ont commencé à prendre un peu la grosse tête, avoir des délires de stars à base de drogue, de prostituées, tout ça? Parce que la critique est dithyrambique. On les compare déjà au Nouveau Cure, au Nouveau Franz Ferdinand, etc. Ils ont encore les pieds sur terre ou pas du tout?
The critics are really good for you, so are you becoming like rock stars now with rock divas?
Drugs,
Sex, rock and roll, and drugs?
Of course.
Ils me font plaisir.
Yeah, I think like for a lot of people we are a new band, but for us it's been, you know, we've been touring for about a year and a half, 2 years now, and you know, we've been together for 3, and I guess like for us we've built it up very slowly, and we didn't get, you know, we done maybe like 4 tours of the UK and pretty much had no like press attention at all, and you know, it was kind of like when we started getting that attention, it was like not like we're getting hyped, you know, it's finally kicking off. It's kind of like, okay, people are actually starting to pick up on it now, and it was gradually, you know, getting more intense. So, and it's the same with like the shows. Like we played small venues, and every time we go back to the same place, we're playing a slightly bigger venue, and it's always been like a slow progression, which I think has been really nice. That we haven't felt a sudden like epiphany moment of we're getting a lot of hype right now. But I think at the minute it's kind of hitting its peak, and we're you know, we're kind of realizing at the minute it's like, you know, we've got to really work hard here, because we don't really want to be just a hype band, and we don't want people to say about us in 6 months' time, you know, what was all that hype about? You know, it turned out they didn't really do much and things like that. So we're really conscious of it, of not being a hype band.
I think I heard the name thanks to Kitsuné on the compilations, and because there was a little bit of hype around them. But then I saw them on stage. It was at Les Inrock Festival in last November, in a very small venue in Paris called La Boule Noire. I didn't know anything about the band, but since they played the first track, I knew that it was something exceptional, you know. Something that doesn't happen often, when a band that you don't know comes on stage, and when you get an immediate pleasure seeing them on stage, it's quite incredible. And then they played a second track, and it was still exceptional, and then a third track, and it was a huge hit, and then a fourth track, and it was great. So that was it.
It's very weird. You never know how a band is gonna explode or something like that. And I never really cared about Two-Door Cinema Club. Maybe I saw their name once, but suddenly there was like everybody in Paris who was saying, "Oh my God, there was this small Irish band at Les Inrock Festival yesterday. They were like huge. It was incredible." And 2 days later, they play again on a bigger stage, and it's bigger, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's a great band." And Les Inrock, which is quite a major newspaper, a major magazine about music in France, say, "Oh my God, and they were like, Les Inrock were quite honest about this. They were like, "We like this band, We just put them on a festival because we like them, but we were blown away. And suddenly, bah! You know, like they came out of nowhere, played 2 shows in Paris at a good time, and everybody suddenly loved them.
The tracks are good, but there was something that struck me lately. It's when I went to see them live. They're incredible live, and that's one thing I didn't know. I didn't know that when I mixed the records. I thought, oh, it's well produced, but it's a reproduced. So there's a lots of tracks, there's a lots of things happening. How can they manage to do that for people in the live? And I went to see them at the live show, and I was like, fuck, what's happening, man? It's crazy. And also they are jumping everywhere, and they're moving like a 15 years old kid, and that's really something that Parisians love. The French public always can be very hard, and at the same time when he's very faithful. When he loves something, he takes it with it, and he likes it all his life. So I think the Tudors, they bring something very fresh. They don't take themselves for big stars when they're on stage. They just play the songs. They play it fast, but they play it like it is. We can recognize all the songs, and me, I was like, how is it possible they can do that? This all the same of this, and at the same time they're jumping everywhere. So which is incredible because we are not used anymore to that. People are like all sleeping on stage. Not everyone, but a lot of them.
Enchanté.
That's even better than the hat.
It's so cute. May have a better impact. In some works, I think.
15,500.
Kitsuné is a weird object, you know, like these guys who do like design and clothing, but also music and also clubbing. And musically speaking, they are like, these guys work so much by like coup de foudre. If they see something, they sign it, whatever it is. Like you cannot really say that Kitsuné is into this kind of music or this kind of music. It's like getting to the cinema club is not like very logical that, oh my God, of course Kitsuné signed them. It's like, because before Kitsuné signed electronic artists or other things, like, yeah, it's not really, to me, Kitsuné is not really a label. It's like 2 guys or 3 guys who love music, and when they love it, they invest in it, whatever it is. So that's what is great about them. It's like, you never know what to expect.
We're making those Kitsuné Maison event, which is kind of some live event we're building in Paris every 3 or 4 months. And our partner promoter sent me like a link to listen to some Tudor cinema club music, just like maybe that this band might fit into our event. And like 2 seconds of like listening the music, I was like, oh, that's really what I really love, you know, just like really that's the music I'm into. And immediately I tried to get in touch, find like the people and stuff, and express my love to the people in charge of Tudor Cinema Club.
It wasn't until they got in touch with us that we knew about the label itself. Obviously we knew, by the time we found out about the label, we'd known loads of the acts that they'd done. Like they'd done stuff for Block Party and Hot Chip and stuff, which are all bands that we listened to. So we knew of the band, but didn't know of Kitsuné or their connection with it.
Oh, he came to London for some lunch, and he wanted us to come and play a Kitsuné party in Paris. And yeah, he just told us a bit about the label, and you know, said he would be interested in putting out a first single with us anyway.
It was really interesting to feel like really the potential of, and the fact they are like great musicians, they were really nice guys, and got a bit shy but really nice, and Alex like get like also an incredible voice, so it was kind of and they are young, so yeah, definitely that everything was like really charming to me, like for sure, yes.
Really good bands that could sign to major labels decide to sign to Kitsuné because they know that it's going to bring a special light on them, you know. Indie people are going to watch these bands more than if they were signed on Warner or EMI or things like that. And then Kitsuné let them develop as they want.
I think at the time we were meeting a lot of majors and stuff, and they were saying, you know, it was all about album, you know, we want to do your album, and like, who do you want to record your album with? And I think at the time, you know, we had the songs, but we weren't really ready to start thinking about it. It was like we just wanted to release a single and then see where it went from there. And it was a real breath of fresh air for Gildas to come along and be like really interested in releasing a single, and that was that.
We good to make like really singles and to really get like a first things out for a band. We did that many times, and I think that's what we're good at also, and it's a way to initiate a relationship somewhere.
Bravo!
Lovely. Thank you. My glasses.
Pour les yeux.
Pour les yeux. Ouais, c'est bien.
Make this happen, girl. We're gonna show them well, it's something that can work and it can work for you. Let it.
It feels really high this time in the morning.
It's just at a table sitting, reading.
So go and ask me
Spanner in the works. production. No, you gotta step up your game to make it to the top. So go. You got a little competition. No, you're gonna find it hard to cope with living on your own. No, let's make this happen, girl. We're gonna show the world it's something that can work and it can work for you. And you know that it will. Let's get this started, girl. We're moving up, it's been a lot to change, but you'll always get what you want. It took a little time to make a little better. It's only going up, just one thing then another, you know. And it took a little time to make a little better. It's only going up, just one thing then another, you know. Let's make this happen, girl. We're gonna show the world it's something that can work and it can work for you. Let's get this started, girl. We're moving up, it's been a lot to change, but you'll always get what you want. Ba 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 ba. Let's make this happen, girl. We're gonna show the world it's something that can work and it can work for you. And you know that it will. Let's get this started, girl. We're moving up, it's been a lot to change, but you'll always get what you want. Let's make this happen, girl. We're gonna show the world it's something that can work and it can work for you. And you know that it will. Let's get this started, girl. We're moving up, it's been a lot to change, but you'll always get what you want.
Le groupe s'appelle Gildas Loaec. Alors j'ai une vraie question, quand il y aura la répartition des droits sur la vente des disques, est-ce que celui qui joue du xylophone sera payé à égalité avec ceux qui jouent de la guitare et de la batterie?
Is the guy playing the xylophone paid the same as the other musicians?
Well, I'm still in the band.
Pour l'instant, il est encore dans le groupe.
You guys were really great.
Oh, thank you.
We really enjoyed it. We were all watching them upstairs.
We watched
Really nice.
also your acoustic.
Thank you. Thanks.
Very different from the album. It's
Yeah.
more electric.
Yeah.
Are there any songs in acoustic? No.
No, so we have to learn.
Okay.
Today to maybe run through like in talk once.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Well, we'd done the Something Good Could Work first single, and we'd recorded it with a guy called Lex, who was kind of down to record the album.
I think he said yes initially, and it came closer to the album, and things fell through. Like he had other work or something, and so he wasn't able to do it. So we were kind of in a bit of a rush.
It was very much our management kind of said, what records do you like the production on, and we'll try and find someone, or we'll get a list together of kind of people we think would suit.
We spoke to Eliot on the phone the first time, and he had listened to the songs, but not kind of fully, and he hadn't really got a very good idea of what we were doing, I don't think, at first. And he was talking all this stuff, and we're kind of like, I don't really know this guy's like a bit, I don't think he's really getting what we're doing. So we kept talking to other people, and we thought, we'll give him another chance. And we went over to London and met him in his studio, and he just sat down and he was like, guys, I'm really sorry. I've properly listened to your stuff now. He's like, I hadn't before. That probably wasn't good of me, but I've listened to it and I understand it now. And he just talked about the album, and every single thing he said was exactly what we were thinking.
I think the lads, in terms of where it could go, I've always felt it was quite a difficult question, because To me, it sounded like they kind of sound like an indie band with a bit of electronic stuff going on, but the electronic stuff is almost because they've just programmed everything at home and they haven't got a drummer, which kind of lends it a certain charm. So the main question was whether or not we bring that whole thing and bring a drummer into the equation, which would change it and would make it a very indie kind of band, really, and maybe less individual, or to keep the electronic element and build on that. So that was the main question, and I think the lads were pretty much on the same page, really, in that, it would be nice to get some drumming elements, but essentially they had a thing, which was this sort of slightly electronic blend, and we kind of focused on trying to keep that pretty much as was,
They have just in the middle between there's their live drummer, but also they put some sound, some electronic sound. It's really like a clash between a rock and not techno, but techno elements or techno production. It's very well crafted in the two doors. So yes, it helped a lot, because before with only the drum machine, it could have been a bit pigeonholing, and with both of them, I think it's great.
It was quite a lengthy process, I felt, because it wasn't a case of just recording a band. I mean, sometimes if you're just recording a band in a room, it's a lot quicker. Whereas when you have to kind of shape and mould the sound on screen, that leaves a lot of options, and you have to try little things and go down little avenues and then pull it back and try something else.
We were sitting in the studio and we wanted to get a bit of a different perspective on the singles, and maybe make them a bit more electronic and dancey, and a bit more of a punch to them. And someone had suggested maybe approaching Philippe Zdar, and we were like, that would be unbelievable. We love the Phoenix record and the Chromeo stuff he's done, and Cassius, of course. And we didn't really see it happening at first, and we were like, yeah, let's try and do it. If we can do it, then amazing.
I took the CD, I listened to it only one time, and I took it on holidays, and it was summer, and put it in my car, and it changed everything. I went to a gig, in fact. It was fantastic, because I was in the south of France, and I'm playing DJ every weekend, so I took my car alone, and doing not only 1 hour travel to Nice, but I played the record and I opened the windows and I thought, fuck, this is great, and all the songs are great, and I was getting into the songs, each of them.
About halfway through the record, we confirmed him, and then we went over to Paris, and he mixed 4 tracks for us, our singles.
Especially after the success of his own stuff with Cassius and the new Phoenix record, the big singles off that, just thought he could really bring something else to it, especially in the dance side of production.
When you have a great demo, or you have something, I stick on the demo. I put the demo somewhere. I do my mix and I always listen. And this, I really like the song the way it was. And you get used to very fast, you get used to a song the way it is. I just tried to make it bigger and with more depth.
We didn't sign a big record deal, we paid for all our own recording, and so we had no money, and Philippe is one of the best dance producers at the moment, and he'd be charging thousands and thousands of pounds, maybe a couple £1,000 per track, and he just was like, I really want to do your stuff, and I'll take a massive drop in my pay to do it. And we were like, that's phenomenal. And the funny thing is that we still haven't been able to afford to pay him yet, so we actually still haven't paid him yet.
So I don't know if any of you noticed, I interviewed a few people on the way in, and a lot of people didn't recognise me. I think a lot of people thought I was a strange Northern Irish person asking them questions, but it was actually me.
What I expect about Tudor Cinema
what
Club?
do you expect of Tudor Cinema Club for tonight?
Big show.
Big show.
And maybe a good introduction to the LP.
Okay.
I hope so. And we'll see.
Do you have a favourite song?
Cigarettes in Theatre, which is my best.
Do you have a
my
favourite member from
No, no favorite member. It's a band, so I like every member in the band.
Just wondering what you're expecting of the show tonight.
Very good one.
Okay.
With energy. I don't know.
Energy. Okay.
Yeah. I want to dance.
Wondering what's your favorite thing about Tudor Cinema Club? You know, is it the bass parts? You know, is it the backing vocals, or you know, is it like the guitar lines and things like that, or is it just a mix of everything? Or
Yeah, definitely the energy.
yeah.
Well, I hope.
I hope so too. Cool. So do you have a favourite member from the band, or
No, not really.
no, not really, no.
Not really.
That's an embarrassing question.
Yeah, it is.
You should have said him.
You're in the band?
That's the whole point.
Yes. You're in the band?
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
I'm slightly bored today. So that's what I'm gonna do for Michael Hines. You know? Take one for the team. Oh, easy now.
Has it had the effect you were
I think
hoping?
there's a bit of there's some creases here.
I think it's not a perfect job.
Look at this. Can you zoom in on this? Can you see the creases?
Not a perfect job.
I can't go on TV.
The state he was given to me, you know, I think I've done pretty well actually. Because he's, it's still not looking that great, is it?
Like a bit of stuff.
The album title was kind of like one of those eureka moments, because we were, again, like, we're so bad at meeting deadlines. We were thinking of an album title for ages, and everything we came up with was shit.
We knew from the offset that we didn't want it to be a self-titled album, and we were I think we tried to think too much about making it sound nice and like just thinking about the words, you know what I mean?
One day, I think it was it Kev? It wasn't me anyway that came up with it, it was Kev or Sam, and just said tourist history, and I was like, it sounds really good, it has a really good ring to it, like what does it mean? And then he kind of explained where he'd come up with it.
A lot of our songs are like lyrically about like the progression as a band, and you know, like leaving Bangor and going on tour, and you know, going to cities that never played in before, and no one knowing who we are, and no one knowing the songs, and you know, it's like being like a tourist in all these different places, and the songs being tourists themselves. And
the songs were all written in Bangor, where we're from, which was a big tourist town, I guess, when people used to holiday in their own country in Northern Ireland.
And it seemed like a common theme, and you know, we had to leave Bangor to do the record, and we kind of had to leave Bangor to carry on what we wanted to do. So it seemed really like fitting to make it like some relationship with where we were from and what we were doing, and
it kind of meant something to us. You know, it's not just like a vapid, crazy album title. It's something that actually has a meaning for us, which is something we wanted, because before we'd come up with so much stuff that sounded good, but when it doesn't mean something to you, when you've no connection to it, you just can't really call your album, especially your first album, you can't call it something that has no meaning to you.
This is amazing. Right, 3, 2, 1.
I'll take a photo. Picture. Okay, backside. We need to make a wish.
Hang on a minute. Hang on.
Oh, we can't tell them.
Hang on a minute. Hang on.
We should have a unified
You can
wish.
say, hold it. All right.
3, 2, 1.
as quite complete. So I think they're gonna be okay. I hear about so many bands that get signed to make an album, but when they sign, they only wrote 2 songs, or bands that don't know how to play live. I have one example. Look at MGMT. Like MGMT, great songs, great album, lame concerts, incredibly lame concerts. It was tough for them. It's like, but to the Cinema Club, they were noticed live, and this is a good thing. That means that apparently they're good musicians.
Being big and being successful and selling records and having a lot of people on stage or during the tour is also some kind of magic thing. You can't decide if you're going to be big or if you're going to success. You need some kind of spark that sometimes doesn't come, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen for Tudor Cinema Club.
I think it all kind of hangs on how this first record is received. I just, like, if it goes well, then we'll be allowed to make a second album, and I think, you know, it's what we want to do, and we've worked hard to be in this position, and we want to kind of stay here or, you know, move up, hopefully. But I think it's just a case of writing more songs and developing even more as a band.
An opinion was never an issue.